Musically meditated. Musically meditated.
Musically Meditated. Welcome to Musically Meditated. I'm your host, Joe Riley. So we went into American Nightmare this past weekend, Sreten and I, and we had a few others with us. We had Marc, we had Cara K, and we had my cousin Ian. He joined us. And I really wanted to bring Sreten along because he appreciated their music beforehand, but he really wanted to go to a really good hardcore punk rock show. And I thought this was the perfect time, the perfect setting to do it, because American Nightmare, they just came out with a new album. It's good, and they haven't dropped an album since 2003. So I was really, really pumped up. I'm a fanboy for them. I love their artwork. I love what they represent. I love the old school Boston hardcore, working class ethic, everything about them. And what was cool about American Nightmare back then, in like 2003, late 90s, early 2000s, was it was hardcore, but it was emotional. Meaning it was always like you broke up with your girlfriend, like love, like a love poem, a love letter, emotional, like they just had that about them. Their lyrics had it. They wore their emotions on their sleeve. So back then, the late 90s, early 2000s, the crowd was pretty hype and shit was different. Like I saw them at Fireside Bowling Alley. Like this is, if, people might know this, and I hope they do, Fireside Bowling Alley was an area where you would see old school hardcore punk, death metal, black metal. It was just this really cool, intimate shithole of a place where you would see these shows, and like it had a huge impression on me then, and it still does now. But let's fast forward 15 years later, you go to see American Nightmare, and it was intense, and like I could tell people were getting a little crazy for the old songs, like me being that fanboy. But for you being that
new.
You're new and it's your first time, like what was your impression?
We've been talking about this, and my impression was there was some stuff that was really cool that I really, really respected. There was some stuff that I was actually scared. I've never been around a mosh pit. I've never been around a lot of that stuff. There's an intimidation factor. There was quite a bit of thing, not with the band. The band actually did a really good job. I thought they performed great. I thought the crowd sucked. The crowd was the most disappointing part of the whole thing. And it was a Sunday night, and it was after 10 o'clock, but it's Chicago on a Sunday night.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like back in the day at Fireside Bowl, like we were younger, people were crazier. I don't know, but I felt like this particular crowd had, like, we have to go to work tomorrow morning because it's a Sunday night, and the fan base is like mid-30s, almost 40. I think that had something to do with it.
It might have, and they had two opening bands, and the crowd seemed to have energy for them, but it almost was like a noticeable bedtime feeling, like there was a wave of bedtime, which kind of sucked.
It did.
Because, I told you earlier, one of the things that I didn't understand, because I'm coming from, you guys goof on me, but I'm coming from Dave Matthews' 2 encores. I'm coming from, regular big bands or even small shows where you expect to be there for 2 hours, not with your opening bands, but there's a chance that the headliner's at least going to play for an hour with the encore, probably an hour and 15, 20 minutes. But these hardcore shows, unless I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, probably wrong, it's 35, 45 minutes.
Yeah, you're
tops
absolutely right.
With encore, but it's without breaks. Other bands take a break, switch out stuff, switch out guitars.
American Nightmare, they took a break. I thought their encore was tight. I thought they, like you said, they were great as a band, not to say anything bad about them.
But before their encore was probably about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But
the crowd was asleep.
The crowd was, there was a giant mosh pit ring, whatever you call it, like the area where people jump around. It was huge, and there was only ever 2 or 3 people doing stuff in there. There was no like person-to-person interaction, which I was most curious about. Because if somebody's making a fist and doing that hardcore dance that I described earlier, how do you avoid other people? I wanted to see how some maniac was interacting with another maniac that was all in with the music. Now, the first 2 or 3 rows of people, those were the people. I thought it was going to be like 20 rows of that stuff. I thought when those guys started playing that the entire crowd was going to press forward like most shows.
I thought the crowd was going to be a lot more hyped than that. Go ahead.
They weren't.
They were not.
And the first couple rows were intense. They were crazy.
We were there. We were there. Maybe we're part of that older crowd in the back, but I wanted you to experience a little bit more hype. And here's my thing with American Nightmare. They were great performers. They're a quality band. I like the new record. I love their old records. It's a part of me. But is there a point in time where you've been gone for so long and you come back where people just, they lose that energy, they lose that excitement. Like, I think that was a part of what was going on that night. Like when they would play their old songs, like just for me, like I would like spaz out a little bit and really like it. You know, I got a bum knee and I'm a little bit older, so I knew not to do anything too crazy. But like, does there come a point where the fan, you know, like, do they just check out? Like, okay, I haven't seen you play in like, you know, I mean, even if it's 5 years, I'll just put the 5-year thing out there. Like, is there a point where it's like, impress me? You're not impressing me. That's all I'm asking.
I'd like to see them versus whatever's right now hot, whatever the band is right now in hardcore, and how intense the people get.
Yeah, you got to go to a Converge show because they, you know, American Nightmare was before Converge as far as, in my opinion, like how extreme they were, how much the fans were just like a part of the show. And then I was so young and impressionable, so I don't know if that matters, but Converge after the fact, like, it's intense, but a Converge show would be a really good one for you to go to. I guess
there's also, it didn't deter me. It might have been a good warm-up show for my hardcore show lifestyle.
Like,
I want to go again.
What was that venue called again?
I'm gonna Bottom Lounge.
Bottom Lounge. All right, it was the Bottom Lounge. Really cool, and it's in the Warehouse District of Chicago.
It's very cool.
And I don't know if that had that whole, you know, and not that it's a bad thing, but you could get a really good coffee or a really good IPA. Like there was something about it that obviously wasn't like Fireside Bowl, like from 15 years ago. Like it seemed
not as dirty.
It wasn't as dirty, and it was very mature. You know, like everyone, like, I guess the question is like, is there a time where, you know, everyone's so mature so they can't wig out like we used to when we were younger? Like time goes on.
I didn't get that vibe.
I got that just because I know I've experienced both. Like, you know, if I can like pick from 17 different IPAs, like why should I go crazy?
I don't know. I saw it as this is an actual like, because you saw the posters when you go to take a leak on the walls. Bands have been there, bands that are coming. All the different genres, but a lot of it seemed to be mostly punk shows, from what I could tell.
Yeah, because Culture Abuse is coming there with Touche Amore and Turnstile in April, and I have to go. I love Touche Amore and I love Culture Abuse. Turnstile's all right. They're the headliner, but I have to go. Like, and I really like that place, but I guess what I'm asking is it kind of plastic there because it's so nice? Like, there was nothing dirty about that place at all. Like Reggie's has a little grime and a little dirt.
It was dirty. It was less. Yeah, Reggie's.
It was just, that place was really polished, so it's kind of hard.
I didn't think it was polished.
No,
I thought like when you walk in before you saw. So you walk into the place and there's a set of stairs, and then it's a bar. It's a nice bar. It's polished. It looks like a country bar. String lights, you know, nice tables, all that stuff. A nice long bar, like all that shit. But it wasn't like it looked like a bar. It wasn't like clean. But then the place where they played, it was dark. It wasn't fancy. The floors were like they were clean. They weren't sticky, but they weren't like awesome. I don't know. I felt like it would have been a good. I'm thinking that maybe it was a combination of them and maybe their fan base has gotten
older,
sleepier and older, and then I just think maybe it was an off night.
Off night. It's a Sunday night in Chicago, like you said. Like, majority of that fan base is a little bit older. This is my opinion. Majority of the fan base is older. We all have to go to work tomorrow morning. Nobody wants to get hurt. You know, this isn't Fireside Bowl. And everyone that's listening to this, like, it wasn't a bad experience. I had a great time. They're a great performing band. That venue's cool. Like,
if you want to get a sense of if you want to get a sense of what I can't put to words, if you go on their Instagram, because I'm so Instagram famous now.
You are.
So there's a meme from Pulp Fiction where people put that. There's a scene from Pulp Fiction where John Travolta is like looking for Mia Wallace, Uma Thurman, and he's looking back and forth. If you go to the American Nightmares Instagram, there's a video from the Chicago show that somebody posted, and my big silhouetted head is sitting there in the front of the crowd while it looks like the crowd is going ape shit. And they were. But there's strobe lights, there's all this stuff going on, and you just see me looking back and forth. And that's kind of how it was. Like, I was the majority of the crowd looking back and forth, more observing and enjoying themselves. Like, I was an observer enjoying myself instead of being a participator, which I was hoping to be. And, shout out to your cousin. He was trying.
Ian was trying.
He was trying to pull me in. He was trying to pull us all in. And he was like, he kept like telling me like, hey, man, just like get in here. And he tried to get other people in the crowd to get in, and we weren't having it. So it's not his fault. It's not the band's fault. I think maybe just the crowd was just like lame that night.
They were lame. It was
like
a lame
observers.
crowd.
They could have watched it on TV.
And like you said, the first few rows of the crowd by the stage were really hyped.
They're really hyped. They were awesome. They scared me.
When they played their earlier, like their older songs, it really hyped me out. So I think it's an older fan base. But yeah, you had your time to shine, but you didn't. So everybody go to American Nightmare's Instagram page and look for the Chicago show, which probably isn't that far away. And if you know Sreten, like you'll see him. He's hanging out. He's observing. I showed it to my dad, and my dad was like, he's wondering why the hell he's here right now. Like he is.
I was just, I was looking back and forth, and I was watching. And I also didn't want to take an unexpected. There were a couple guys that were randomly running, and at one point I wanted to be a gentleman. There was a really tall girl standing on my left, and I was like, there's a bunch of dudes like running super like full speed into like people on the edges of the pit, and
we were on the edge of the pit. Like I put us purposely in the heart of like where shit would go down, and I didn't want to do anything, but that's my nature. Like,
yeah, and I thought that I would help her if somebody hit me. I got hit twice. And all she did was take my impact. Like when I would fall, I was stomped on her foot twice. I gave her a shoulder blast after I got hit in the ribs once.
It's like you're wearing clown shoes.
Yeah, so I just ended up like taking 2 steps forward. I was like, I'm not this poor girl.
I'm not the blunt of the force, Like
yeah, I mean, if somebody hits me in the ribs, I get over it. None of those guys were like going. One guy did hit me like full blast and knocked the wind out of me, but I was like, that's
when that side swipe happened, right?
Yeah,
I kind of remember that. That hit you?
Yeah, it hit me. Like he hit me first, and I was like, whatever. Yeah. I knew don't stand there. I knew that in my head. I was like, all these guys are like, look at that big motherfucker. Don't stand there because we're coming after you. And I took my eyes off of it once, and the one guy hit me, and he didn't. He was fine. He was cool. Everybody seemed. The thing that was impressive about it, the band was really impressive. They were awesome. They came in and like, snap your fingers. That's how fast it took them to warm up. They just went. Boom. Like they just went crazy, which was awesome for me trying to experience the band itself. The first couple of rows were awesome too. What I was very, very impressed by was the hardcore maniacs' respect for everyone else around them. There was like almost this sixth sense thing that like...
We're not trying to hurt anyone.
Right. But the guys that were dancing or whatever you call it...
Hardcore dancing, yeah.
Were like... Dude, a lot of those dudes were swinging their fists as hard as they could. They were kicking as hard as they could, but they weren't kicking anyone. And the dudes that were up in the front row, they were getting into it. They were jumping all over each other. And I told you, Joe, earlier, when I go to the next show, I'm going to stand in the front because if I get hit a little bit, I can handle it. But I need to experience that energy. That's what I missed out on. I wish I would have. I'm an idiot. I didn't know how short the show was going to be. So when they were in the middle of their encore, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get brave. I'm going to the front. So you saw me. I walked to the front, and then count to 10, they were done. Like I walked up there, and I was like, shit, this is where it's at. This is fun. This is great. Like all these guys are going crazy. I might not know the music, but I could jump with them. And I did. I jumped like 3 times, and they were done. And I was like, man.
Okay.
So next time I go to a hardcore show, like you said, like Converge.
Got to go to Converge. They'll be around. I mean,
or even the one that you said was playing at Bottom Lounge again.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, Touche Amore.
If I could get in the
Turnstile
front,
and Culture Abuse, like I would have maybe let loose. I would have let loose more if I didn't have a bum knee. But
your arthritis, Joe.
No, but I got a torn ACL again in my left
you
knee. I can't mess around anymore. Like
it's not one person's fault about the crowd. It's everybody together, and as a whole. Like I said, the first 3-4 rows they represented.
I thought people were going to go a little bit crazier. Like, how many people do you think were there real quick? 250?
Maybe less.
200, like 250?
Because it was a big open space. Not huge. I would love to see more shows there because that place could fill up fast. And it wasn't full.
It was really nice. Like, I think that place was a little bit too crystal clean, pristine, no caffeine, nice for, like, a hardcore.
Have you ever been to a show there?
Never.
I'd like other people to disagree with you.
I hope so. I just think I'm like putting this into like something from the past, which isn't necessarily like it's not right, but
To be fair, there's like a.
Reggie's would make more sense for that.
You ever
show.
been to Joe's on Weed? There's a lot of country shows that go
Yeah,
there.
I've
There's a lot
heard
of
of
cover
it.
bands
I've
play
never
there,
been
other
there.
bands. So their floors are sticky as shit.
Yeah, sticky
You
floors.
go there,
good
you get
show.
sticky floors. The rest of the place is fine. It's clean. The front's a restaurant, and the back where they do the shows, whatever. This place, there was nobody's. I think one dude spilled a beer before the show started by us. Nobody came up and ran and cleaned it up all quick, but it wasn't like you didn't see that like spilled beer, spilled water, like spilled shit.
That's what I want.
But that's what you want. Yeah, that's what
I want like blood, sweat, and tears and spilt beers all over the floor. All like just some a little bit dark, like a little bit dirtier.
Can you get there with a show that short, or was it just the band?
Oh, those shows are always that short.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah.
And they get crazy like that?
Yeah,
Usually.
that was very chill, like for a show. And I just think like I love American Nightmare, and all I know personally is like I would get hyped up, but I am a little bit. I don't want to say I'm older, but I am 30. So I can't
Yeah.
really express myself the same way we all express ourselves in our 20s. But it was a good show. They're a great band. We tried to reach out to them. It didn't happen, and that's okay. But that would have been cool.
It would have been cool.
It would have been really cool.
Yeah.
But maybe next time. So
Next time.
shout out to American Nightmare. We love them.
Come back, do a show in Hobart.
You know what? You would have a more hype crew or a crowd at a show in Hobart, like they would have, because they have a lot of bars here and a lot of free flowing alcohol, and it would have been a good turnout. So I had a good time.